Gordon, and I shall thank everybody for turning up. Thank you. So this week we're going to be concentrating on Amplify. I did promise Pony last week that we would do a kind of build and dissolve shader. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm probably going to make many mistakes because that is just what doing your own shaders is all about. Fiddling on with stuff until you get it to work. But we'll get there. I'm going to do a couple of different ones. One like a kind of, I don't know, using like a cloud texture, shall we say, to make something appear. And another one, just a straight horizontal line from the ground up, which I think will look a bit more techy. But yeah, we'll get started without further ado. I've just got a basic empty scene started in Unity, and I've got Amplify shader editor installed already. So I think what we'll do, we'll start off by just bringing in an object. I don't suppose it matters which one. We'll just bring in a sphere for now. I'll just recenter it, and we'll start by creating.
You're recording, right?
I am recording, yes. See, my OBS has got a red dot. We are definitely recording. I'll just double check that my mic's being picked up. Yes, it is.
Yep.
So, I've just created a new material. I'm just going to call it, I don't know, build, I don't know what to call it, build, dissolve. It's going to do both because it really depends on which way you slide the slider, whether it builds and dissolves. And we're going to animate it at the end to show you how you can build it into things and trigger stuff to get it to happen. So I'll just throw the material on there. It's just a basic thing. And then we'll create a shader. So Amplify shader, surface shader, dissolve. And I'll just put it in my usual Lisa menu by putting it in the shader name there. This is misleading. It's not really the shader name. This is more like a path. So I've shown you before, but anybody that doesn't know, if you put a name or a word before your shader name and a /, when you save it, you will see that when I come to select it from here, I've now got a menu saying Lisa, because that's me, and there's my dissolve shader. So it puts everything together in a little menu. Another way, which I don't think I've ever shown anybody before, to apply a shader to a material, if they're right near each other, you can just drag and drop. And that's it done. My material's now got the shader on. So we'll open this up again. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just lock that material so that I've always got the inspector open. And we'll open up Amplify again, and I'll just bring that sphere into view. And we need to have a think about what we're going to be using. I definitely want to use a material or, you know, a texture. Could be a PBR texture, but I'll just start with something simplish to begin with. So we'll definitely be using albedo, probably, possibly metallic or smoothness, we'll see, but definitely albedo. We're going to be using emission because I want to make it a kind of glowing edge to the build effect. A kind of a neon effect because, well, I guess because Pony was interested in using it in his Tron world for the bike, so I think it's perfect. But
Yes.
you can easily just change it for anything you like. We also need to use opacity because we're going to have some transparent bits, which we need to get that turned on. So the first thing we need to do is under render type, change it from opaque to transparent. And you can see this is now enabled. We also need to tick alpha to coverage. If you don't tick alpha to coverage, what you can sometimes get is a kind of glass effect or a transparent plastic effect. The light still seems to interact with the surface even though it's transparent. So if we tick alpha to coverage, that will make sure that any transparent bits are properly invisible, as in not rendered at all. So we'll just save that. Just because I like to keep saving as I go along, just in case anything goes pear-shaped. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get the colour set up, the albedo. So from there, I'm just going to choose a texture, and we want a texture sample node. If you don't know already, there's a shortcut for the texture sample node, which is just holding down the T key and clicking, left mouse clicking with your mouse. And you can have as many as those as you like. So we'll just get rid of them for now. We just need the one. And we'll give it a name. It's already a property. Texture sample nodes always are, so they'll always show up in the material. So we'll just give it a name. I'm just going to call it texture because we're going to have a colour as well later on.
Are you using the Unity shader editor?
No, I'm using Amplify shader editor.
You are using Amplify?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does Banter support the Unity one?
If you mean shader graph, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah,
okay.
no.
All right.
What was I saying? Oh yes, there we go. So we've got our texture node. As I say, it's already set as a property, which means it will show up in the material here. You'll see what I mean a little bit later on when we'll have to change some nodes to properties. So the next thing we want to do is to then think about how we're going to generate the alpha, the opacity, and how we can change it and make the thing kind of animated, dissolve. So the first thing we want to do, or the easiest thing we could do, we could bring in a cloud texture, a tileable cloud texture, but I think the easiest thing really is just to use a noise generator. So we'll bring in a noise generator node. You just right click when you're searching for them and type in whatever you're after. So we've got a noise generator. If we plug, I'll just plug that into the albedo for now so you can see what's actually happening. And there's nothing really happening at the minute because it's looking for UV coordinates. So we can hold down the U key and click and we get a texture coordinates node and just plug UV into UV. We'll save that. And we've got something kind of happening now. You can kind of see what's going on. We've got some dark bits and light bits. But it's because the scale is all wonky. If I hit the P key here, it'll open these up and you'll see what I mean. We've literally just got one darkish spot on the whole thing. So we'll increase the scale. And for the scale, we just need to plug in a number into here. And a single number, we'll call it a float. And a quick way to bring a float in is just to hit down the number 1 key on the keyboard, not on your numpad. And that'll bring in a float, or the usual thing, you just right click and search for it. When you search for things as well, if it's got a little thing in square brackets, that tells you what the shortcut is. Not everything has a shortcut, but the most used things do, and it does speed stuff up a lot. So float, we'll call this, because this is going to be the scale, we'll call it this the noise scale. And it's going to have a minimum of 1, obviously, because otherwise it's just not going to exist. And why hasn't that saved? How bizarre. Probably because I haven't plugged it in. Let's plug it in. Oh, it's because my maximum is 0. That's why. Let's make the maximum, say, I don't know, 100 to start with. See what happens. If you put in a maximum amount, it then automatically turns your value into a slider. If you leave them both as 0, then you've just got a little digit box that you have to either type a figure in or, in fact, let's just show you. You can still slide. You'll see when you hover your mouse over, you get these little arrows either side. You can still slide up and down, but personally, I prefer sliders. And it does give you a maximum value that you can't go past as well. So this noise I don't like. This isn't what I'm after. I want more like a cloud texture. So the easiest way to change that is just to pull down the drop down and just choose simple. And there's a nice cloud thing. And if we increase that to like, I don't know, maybe 30-ish, something like that, that might do. And we'll save that and we should see some clouds now on the sphere. Perfect. And then because this is grayscale, we want to turn it into black and white because we want to have very, very definite visible parts and very definite invisible parts. And we want to have a border with a glowing edge as well that we've got to create. So to change this from grayscale to black and white, we're going to use a step node. And the easiest way I remember that you use a step node is you kind of think of it like steps. So black, white, black, white, black, white. There's no kind of gradient. It's just, there's no slope, shall we say. That's how I remember it anyway. So we'll just type in step. There isn't a shortcut for this. So, and we'll plug that into there, plug that into there. And then we need something to define the threshold kind of thing. As you move the threshold, more of it will become white, etc. So we're going to add in another float. And I'll... actually, did I make this a property? No, I didn't. So you'll see up here in the material, there's actually nothing that you can change because the texture isn't currently plugged in and nothing here is a property. We want to make these properties so that we can change them in the material on the fly. So now you can see the noise scale is a slider and we'll make this a property. And this is now a slider. It's just called, well, it's not a slider, but it's a value. It's just called float 0 at the minute. So we'll give it a name. And I think we're probably going to just call it dissolve amount, maybe. And I have no idea. I think it's probably going to be going from 0 to 1, isn't it? So we'll try that to start with and see what happens. And if I slide that up and down, at least we've got black and white going on. So if I plug that into the opacity, then when we do the dissolve amount, we've got it appearing and disappearing. In fact, if I just deselect the sphere so you don't see the edge, that's a start. That's working reasonably well. So we've got to work out how to make the glowing edge now. So we'll just plug that texture back in for now. Move it over here. Get that out of the way. So let's have a think. What we want to do is to make the white bits or the black bits on here either bigger or smaller. We want to make a really tiny difference between them, and then we can take one away from the other and we should just be left with the edge, technically. So if we create another step node and we'll plug the noise generator in again, and we'll plug the dissolve in again, we've now got exactly the same as the top one. But to make this a bit smaller, now I've tried this with add, subtract, all kinds, and the only way I seem to be able to get it to work is with divide. I have no idea why only divide seems to work, but it does. So we'll hold down D and bring in divide. And I think we need to plug dissolve amount into there. And then we need another float. And this is going to be, we'll make it a property and we'll call it glow edge width, maybe. And I don't know what value we want just yet, so I'll play around with that. So this is going to be, let's try playing with that and see what happens. There we go. Okay, let's try making this just a smidge bigger than 1. So maybe 1.1, or is that a smidge smaller? Sorry, smidge smaller. 1.1. That might work. So we now want to take one away from the other. And that's easy. We just used a subtract node. So we'll plug that one in there and that one in there. And we've now got an outline. Perfect. And then the outline we can plug into emission, except you won't see it because, well, you do kind of see it because it's emissive. We could give it a colour. It's a bit thick as well though, isn't it? It is a bit thick and chunky looking. Let's try reducing this to a little bit, maybe 1.05. Whatever, it doesn't matter. What I'll do is I'll give it a min and max. So 1 to, I don't know, 1.3 maybe. Maybe something like that. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll fiddle around with it after. But we'll want to give this a bit of colour, this emission. So I'll just add a colour. What on earth have I just done? Lisa. I do apologise. Note 5. Right. Now we'll bring in a colour node here. And to add colour to something, we just multiply it. So we'll bring in a multiply node again. I just held down the M button. Multiply that with that and plug that into that. And then this is going to be colour because we had a texture, and we'll make it a property. And then this is where I'm expecting things to go wrong. Let's try giving this a colour. Right, this is where I need to have a think about this. What have I done? So should I have done those the other way around, perhaps? No, that doesn't make any difference, I don't think. We've got opacity plugged in, we've got emission plugged in. Let's try plugging in.
Lisa?
Uh-huh.
I need to go and something happened. So I'll be...
Okay, no problem, Bart. No problem. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Right, so I need to troubleshoot. This is where I need some lights on and see if I can read my notes. So 2 seconds. Alexa, big light on. Okay, thank you very much. Right. You're very, very welcome. I don't know if you heard us saying that. You're very, very welcome.
Yeah.
goodness. Right, so maybe, where am I going wrong here? Glow edge width 0 to 1.3. Dissolve amount 0 to 1. Noise scale. Divides right. Got the texture coordinates. Right. We'll get this working. Just give me a second. How am I doing for time? It's only 24 minutes past. Dissolve amount, edge width, divide. I have not a bloomin' clue what's going on here. Nice scale. See, the thing is, the colour is absolutely fine there, so it's got to be something to do with the fact that this edge is being covered up by something. We've got the dissolve amount.
You need to take the edge away from the big map, so you have that gap.
So you think I need to swap these over? This is the smaller one. This is the bigger one. So I was taking the smaller one away from the bigger one, which is why this is plugged into subtract A. Then take, because you can see this is the smaller one, because this little white island is smaller than that little white island. Oh, I bet you any money. I bet you any money. Is it not that I need to adjust this here? See, glow edge width is doing absolutely not. Oh, you know what it is? Colour. We could try that. That would be useful. There you go.
Yeah.
Hey. So that's all I needed to do. Just actually change it in the material. I forgot it's just the shader I'm editing here, because you can also double click the material, and then you've got shader and you've got material, and you can edit the material directly in here. But I wasn't doing that, and I'm used to doing it. It's only the shader I was editing. So there's no material thing down here. So, glow edge width. Crisis diverted indeed. I've changed that back to 1.05, so we've got a nice thin kind of edge. And we've got our dissolve going. Couple of things. We do need to be able to see, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're only seeing one side of the sphere. We can't see the far side being kind of generated. There's nothing on the other side. So what we want to do is select the actual output node there. And under here in cull mode, it's got backface culling turned on. If we turn that off and save it, we can now see the back as well. So now we're getting a proper 3D view of the sphere appearing, coming into view. And what I'm going to do, yeah, let's just plug something in there. What am I going to do? We'll stick that, and it's a roughness map, but I'm just going to stick it in the albedo so you can actually get a decent view of what it's like with a texture on it. Yeah, and we just move we can change the noise scale so we can have lots more bits as it appears, or we can have it appear out of virtually nothing and just like, and it just kind of goes into existence. Yeah, I quite like it at about 30, but that's all it's nice having the sliders to do what you like. And the the width. You can make it as thick or as thin as you like. If that's not thick enough as well, obviously just adjust the shader and change your maximum value. But yeah, that's that. There is a variant as well I said I was going to show, which we just need 2 more nodes. So we're going to add a smooth step node, which you'll see what that does in a minute. We're going to add another texture coordinates node, so I'll just copy that one. And if instead of plugging in UV into UV, we're going to plug in only one of the coordinates, like the axes kind of thing. So if we plug in U and open that up, you can see we've got a gradient going from left to right. And if we plug in V, we've got a gradient going top to bottom, which is exactly what we want. So we can try and do this without it getting too small to see. Anywhere where the noise generator is plugged in, which is the A sockets on both of the step nodes, we're going to replace with the smooth step. So we'll just plug those in. And then dissolve amount, it goes from bottom to top. Zoop. Except once it gets all the way to the top, we've still got this little bit of glow. We need to fix that. And that's because it stops when it gets to the outer edge of the glow. That's it full at 1. But because we've got a divide amount of 1.05 I had, we need to change the dissolve amount maximum value to 1.05. So it goes that little bit further by the thickness of the glow. So now I should be able, wrong one, Lisa, should be able to turn that all the way up and the glow's gone now. And again, you can change the thickness if that's a bit too much for you. And then, this is the fun bit. We can add an animation to it. You could do this with visual scripting, but I can't show you how to do that because I'm clueless. I don't know visual scripting yet, but I do know keyframing. So we'll just add an animation and create an animation, and we'll call it dissolve. And we'll want to add a property that we're going to animate, and the property is going to be this dissolve amount. We're going to go from 0 to 1.05. So we're going to add property under mesh renderer where the material properties are. We've got material dissolve amount. So we'll add that. I'll just get rid of that keyframe there that it automatically creates at 1 second. We'll use these keyframes here at 0 and make sure that the value is set to 0. And then let's say we want it to appear over a period of, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds. If I put that at 5, which is frame number 300, and by that time we want it at 1.05 at the maximum. And then if we go back to the beginning and just play it, you can see it coming into view. Obviously you can make that as long or as short as you like. But the next thing we need to do is, you can see it's created an animation file here. We need to turn off loop time, so it only plays the once. And I'll just make sure the camera is aligned with the view. If we play it, you'll see we've got an empty world and then this thing is just appearing. And you can literally disconnect this, put in your standard single fixed frame animation kind of thing of it not existing, as it were. I wouldn't even disable the item. I'd just have it with the shader set to 0. And then exactly the same as we did with the animated doors, when you walk up to them or press a button or whatever, you can just use a trigger to trigger that animation and have the object actually appear into view. It should be exactly the same process. You're just calling this animation, which I've called dissolve, to run when the trigger is triggered, as it were. And yeah, I think that's it. I've got through that much quicker than I thought. I thought that was going to take a full hour. So we've got loads of time to do anything else, to answer questions or anything. Would anybody like me to go into detail at all with it, or try and, yeah, anything really?
Can you reverse it?
Like
animate it going up and down?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In the animation, we'd literally, in this bit, at frame 0, would have it at 1.05, and at frame 300, would have it at 0. And that's it reversed. I mean, that's the beauty of keyframing. You can do what the heck you like. You can have it do a little jiggle halfway through. You can have it loop and go backwards and forwards. It's literally just frame by frame. You just say, well, where do I want it to be? It's say frame, I don't know, at like 2 seconds. Let's say at 0, at 0, we'll have it at 0. And then at 2 seconds, we'll say we want it at 1.05. And then at 4 seconds, we'll want it at 0 again. And then let's say that at 5 seconds, we'll want it about halfway. Let's just say 0.5. Actually,
we've
got lots of keyframes there.
When you have the whole thing, it's set to 1 or 100? You said 5?
It's set to 1.05 because that's how we did the shader.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. So the maximum for it to completely fill is 1.05, because we've got the glow edge width, we've got at 1.05, and we want it to go past the glow edge width, so you're not left with a little bit of glowing blue. We're actually having it go too far, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the maximum amount is the same as the division amount, basically. Like I say, if I changed that back to 1, it would normally, in most cases, it would be 0 to 1. 0, it doesn't exist at all. 1, it's fully there. But if we set that maximum amount
better to have more than
to 1, yeah, exactly. If we set that maximum amount to 1, then we literally, once we get to 1, we've still got this little blob of blue on the top, which isn't what we want. So yeah, that's why we make it a weird amount, a weird figure. But yeah, I was playing around with the animation, wasn't I? Let's see what I'd actually got done. Oop.
Can you make it change colors as it does each time?
Absolutely, you can animate the colors as well. So we could open this up and let's just say, I don't know what we're going to do here. Let's just say when it closes, let's say it starts at blue, but then when it gets to the 2 second mark, when it's full, Let's just make that the correct 2-second mark, 120 frames. We'll change the colour. Oh, lordy. Come on, Lisa. What on earth have you done here? Man! That'll do. Right. So yeah, let's have a look at this. We've just called it colour. So we'll open this up again and we'll add a property, and the material is colour. So at frame 0, actually, I think the easiest thing to do would be to just lock that again so it doesn't disappear. We'll just select the sphere. At frame 0, it's fine at blue. At frame 2, we'll just record that and change the colour to, say, red. I wonder if this is going to work. I've not done this before. It will, but I'll go back to the beginning. Blue. Oh, why is that not worked?
Oh no.
Oh no! I've just
Broke
done
it.
something wonky. That's all it is.
I'm sorry.
Let's
I
have a
shouldn't have
look.
suggested it.
No, it's fun. It's fun. We've got time. It's always fun to do this. So we've got red, green, blue, alpha, 255, 7. Is it wanting 0 to 1 or is it wanting? Tell you what, let's remove that. Let's go back to the beginning. We'll record that. We're going to have the colour as blue. We're going to move this up to here and have the colour red. So we should see the colour changing as it's filling.
Okay.
But it's not actually adding a property there, though, is it? No, it's not.
Oh, it's doing underneath the texture for shader.
Well, that's interesting. Add property, colour.
Maybe you have to combine two of them, maybe?
It should you should be able to do it all in one animation. You know the Christmas village? Every single thing in that village is all one animation file. Every object,
Oh, wow.
every colour, the firework display, all the objects appearing, the lights coming up, it's all one animation. So it should work. It absolutely should work. So turn that off so it's not recording. We're at 1. And we're blue. Are those figures actually changing when I change the colour? They're not, are they? There's nothing actually happening there, which has got me absolutely bamboozled. How bizarre. Right. Ah ha ha ha. There we go. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. I remember now. It's the actual material that I was trying to animate, and it's not the material itself, it's the object. Even if an object has exactly the same material and the same shader, you can animate the colors of that material independently for each object. So it needed to be the actual object in the inspector that I had open. That was the issue. So we're now going to, we've started at blue.
So
Let's see by there.
Basically that graphic you have going up on it, you change the color of that each time and put several textures over it, or what do you mean?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Like the texture right there that you have over it. Wouldn't it work if when you go down and then you add another texture so the new texture makes it go up in a different color, or no? I don't know, I'm learning, so.
I wish I actually understood your question properly.
Just add several
Here,
textures.
yeah, I mean, obviously here, this is where we've created the outline of the object. And all I've done is multiply it by a colour. But you could absolutely apply a texture to it, if that's what you're wanting, a texture on the actual rim, on the edge. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like you keep the same texture but change the color every time, so you could just keep adding the texture change when it hits the bottom, maybe, but it'll come up as a different color.
You know
as
what? Honestly, I'm hearing English words coming out your mouth, but when they're put together in a sentence, I'm hearing Swahili.
It's okay. Pony's looking at me crazy too.
She's only changing the outside emission right now.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Imagine the actual grey bit is my motorbike.
Yeah.
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 That bit is already that colour. So you're not changing the actual colour of the motorbike. It's just the glow as it changes. You change it on this program.
Oh, you're changing the glow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the glow, not the actual object.
Yeah.
This is just animate the glow as it changes.
Because I thought you were doing. I'm sorry, that's my bad. I thought you were changing the texture every time. Like you could make it gold one time and then silver the next.
It's like a transition, yeah.
Granite the next after that.
Yeah. No, all I've actually done is I've got it so that you've got one texture, which is this, and then we've got an edge. Yeah. So as it's kind of coming into view, magically appearing into existence, we've just got a bit of a glow on it. That's all it is.
Gotcha. Okay.
And at the moment, we've kind of got it changing as it goes along from blue to red very gradually. So it's going through different hues to reach red. It's not a sudden change. You can see all the values changing here as it's running. So yeah, technically you could literally do whatever you wanted when it comes to doing the animation.
So say I wanted to change the texture halfway through, what would I pull up in the animation sequence?
Good question. I've never done it before. I've never done anything like that. I don't know whether that would require scripting or whether it can be done in an animation, but we can have a look. What have I got here?
Like, is there an add material or add anything like that?
Don't know.
Wouldn't that be changing the actual mesh?
It wouldn't change the mesh, no. It wouldn't change the mesh. It's all part of the material that the texture's in, though, isn't it? I mean, because it all comes under mesh renderer.
Yeah, mesh renderer. Yeah. Yes. it's a mesh renderer, you end up changing, wouldn't it? Just
I think you might actually need to do that with some fancy scripting, to be honest, if it's to change the texture.
Gotcha.
Because I know Aline has done stuff where she uses triggers to swap out like light maps and things as well. I had looked into that for the Christmas Village and I couldn't get my head around it, which is why I ended up literally just animating the materials and making the colour, the tint that they were multiplied by go from black to white, basically, over a long period of time, which made it look like the sun was coming up.
Or maybe a short period of time, you could have avatars walking around changing colors.
Yeah, yeah. I have actually done that with light switches, where I've had the textures just multiplied by a black colour, and then you hit a switch on the wall, and instantly they're multiplied by a white colour. There's no gradual transition. It's an instant thing, and it does actually look like you've just turned on the light in the room.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a nice effect, actually. We could possibly go over that sometime if anybody's interested. Not this week, obviously, because we've only got 10 minutes left. But yeah, that is a cool effect. I have to admit, it's one of the simplest things to do, and yet when you do it, it makes you go squee when you hit that button, and and the lights come on.
Switches? Oh, yeah. I would love that. I would love that.
Yeah, and as I say, not a real-time light in view, and it just works, and it is quite convincing. And you've instantly got all your shadows because your light maps are already there. You just don't see them because the textures are black. So yeah, shall we cover that next week? We've still got 10 minutes left.
Yes.
Yep. I'm not entirely sure what we can do with this shader anymore. Oh, I haven't said that though, Echo. I don't know if you saw at the beginning, the first part of the texture where we used a noise generator instead of a smooth step. This could be quite interesting for like a fantasy kind of world, I think.
Yeah.
If we play that. Instead of like a bottom to top, you've got.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like how we disappear.
I should probably set that back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you could just set that to a button if you want something to appear. That's really cool.
You could have it as a button or a trigger collider, so it could be something that nothing's there from a distance, but it appears as you're walking up to it or something.
Oh.
You could kind of make some quite interesting kind of worlds like adventures, couldn't you, where you have to look for things and people appear and or whatever.
I mean, as long as it's not
secret
there,
objects.
Yeah, you can make a huge world doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I say, this one shader could be used on everything, and you could have a different animation for everything, every object, and animate the colours and everything. It's not going to affect your shader at all. You're just animating it on that one object. So it's flexible. It is very flexible in that respect, and it's nice to do.
Guess I've got a mission.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, right, well, anybody any more questions? I am kind of, there's no point starting anything else when we've only got 8 minutes left. We do have to finish on time because there's 2 other events starting straight after this one. Yes, Barry. You don't have to put your hand up, just shout.
Oh, that's okay. I feel like I'm in a schoolroom. So I'm just curious to know if you talked about the cost of this program, Amplify.
The only time I've really talked about the cost is when I've put links in Discord and said it's on half price now, get it. It isn't.
Definitely gotta get a half price.
Yeah,
Yes,
it
buy
is
for
a
half
lovely,
price.
lovely package to have, but
Yeah.
it isn't a cheap one. It's not something that's like $5 or $10. I can't remember how much it is. I think when I bought it, the full price was about 60. I think that was about
So
right.
that's
Is that about right?
yeah, it was
Was it?
80 for me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I got a half. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
But
definitely worth waiting till it comes, because it does go on sale regularly, and it does often go down to half price. So if you're able to
But
get it,
so
Is it
it
able to
is
be
considered to be
extracted?
it is
Like, is
considered
it
to
an
be a
actual computer
must-have.
file you can
Oh,
spread
sorry.
around?
sorry, Berry, can I just answer your question first? I couldn't quite hear
Sure.
you, and then we'll answer Echo.
Oh, sorry. Just oh God, now I can't remember my question. Sorry.
No problem. If it comes back to you, just
It's
shout up.
it's not a must-have, but it really helps.
It
People
does.
can give you the shaders.
Yes.
Lisa's gave me shaders before. I
Yeah,
can't alter them, but I can use them without the program.
absolutely. Elaine makes shaders using Amplify, and she will often make them and post them in Discord as well that anybody can use. So you don't need
Okay.
it to use them, but you need it if you want to write your own in Amplify.
I
You
see.
don't even need Amplify to make your own shaders if you're prepared to learn HLSL, high level shader language, or you're competent in asking AI to make one for you, which it can. You can actually do your own. My personal preference is Amplify. It's so easy to show people how it actually works. Because the trouble is, if AI doesn't give you exactly the shader you want, if you don't really understand how they work, you're kind of a bit stuck. You don't really know the right questions to ask to get it to fix it. So it is a little bit of an art form, I think. And I don't know
Thank you.
HLSL either. I haven't a clue. So that's why I like a node-based thing, a visual thing, so I can see what is going on along the whole process, like a flow chart kind of thing.
Who's he beating up?
Playing Street Fighter.
Echo, I'm really sorry. You had a question as well. What can you remember what it was?
No. Well, if you're downloading this from Unity, that answers my question. But
Yeah,
I was
it
just
is on the
wondering.
asset
I
store.
mean, okay, yeah. So you can't pass Unity apps along. So that was my question: is if one person in a team buys it and gives it to everyone in the team, like it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't, no, not legally anyway. No.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Hush, hush.
Yeah.
Always goes on sale though.
It
Oh
does.
yeah.
It does.
I
Yeah.
saw it on sale recently. It was like 30 something, 30 maybe.
Sometimes
Excellent,
you do
29.
yeah.
bundles where you can get it with bakery and everything else at the same time.
Humble Bundle. Keep an eye on Humble Bundle because, yeah, you'll often be able to get
Yeah.
both bakery and Amplify and other things at a
See, I
snip.
think I have that. I think I already have it because I
Okay.
bought the Humble Bundle.
Right. Okay.
I just don't know how to use any of it.
So you've got bakery, did you say? Oh, you've got bakery and Amplify.
Probably. I'll have to look at the Humble Bundle I bought.
Uh-huh.
I haven't played with it, but Vanquisher enticed me to buy it, so I did.
Bakery
no idea
isn't
what's
that
in it.
hard. I don't mind covering bakery again because, yeah, I know a few people have got it and would like to learn it as best
My
they can.
processor won't do bakery though, unfortunately. Not quickly.
Light probes is
Yeah.
another thing. Light probes.
Light probes,
Yeah,
yeah.
light probes.
Yeah, we can go over
Yeah.
light probes again as well.
Light
Absolutely.
probes are awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Light probes are
Because I
brilliant.
never use them, I'd like to use them.
Hmm. Yeah, they're not hard. They're really not. We'll go through that again. If you have a look on YouTube, though, my link is at the back there somewhere for all the videos. One of the very first ones we did when we made the cave, just a couple of weeks after starting these sessions, I showed how to put light probes in there. But I absolutely, I don't mind going over it again. We can do that. That would be cool.
I bought a tool called Magic Tools
Mm-hmm.
for doing it. But it's just confusing as to what's actually happening and
Yeah.
controlling it the way you want.
Yeah, I haven't quite got the hang of it yet. Eileen's a good person to ask about that, but I do have it. I just haven't quite learned it yet. Just not enough hours in the day, really, to sit down and learn it.
So if I were to ask AI to build what we just did, you just put in the request and animate it, or how would you word that?
Well, if it's the shader that you're after, I would ask it to write a shader in high-level shader language and then give a description of what the shader actually does, which is going to be a little bit difficult. But yeah, you'd say something like, I don't know, you want a shader with a shader that will use opacity to make an object look like it's dissolving or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to really think about what words.
I want to melt.
Melt, yeah.
I guess it's just playing around. Because, I mean, it's all still new, so.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the fun with Amplify is just throwing nodes in, finding them when you're doing searches and saying, oh, I wonder what that node does, and just plug it into things and see what happens. And if it's none of it's clear, the nice thing about Amplify is there's an online wiki which is linked directly from Amplify. Right? When I open up this shader, I can literally click on that and you can see it's got online reference. And that's often the case with many of the nodes as well. It'll take you straight to the page to explain how it works.
Do they have a shader community that we can grab shaders from or something?
There is an Amplify Discord channel that's worth joining, yeah. And there are people that help each other when they're trying to build shaders. Definitely worth joining that if you've got Amplify, yeah. It is, however, 8 o'clock. And as I say, there's 2 events starting now, so I should really be ending here. I'm going to end the stream. Thank you, everybody, for coming very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
hope to see you next week.
Thank you.
I'll add it to